Добрый день, меня зовут Кондрашов Александр.
Good afternoon, I'm Kondrashov Alexander, and I'm the head of the Web.RF project office for the development of public transport. And in Russia, we approached the point when 80% of people live in cities, and with urbanization, we face different difficulties with mobilities. Too many cars, too many transport on the roads, too many people in the subway, and it is quite hard to counteract this trend in expanding the width of our roads. And what can we do? We can find answers in the development of intellectual transport systems, and with the development of the human race and the development of different other transport hubs and other transport means are now playing a more important role than just roads. And modern buses with air conditioning, they are quite modern. But what is the use of this bus if, yes, we have air conditioning, but you are stuck in the traffic jam and the speed of this bus does not surpass 10 kilometers per hour? So now, if we are talking about the quality of transport infrastructure, we are looking at this question in a different manner. What is the speed of the mobility? What is the accessibility of transport at any hour of the day, and what will we have in the future if it is an entire mass? I can pay in one transaction for 1 month of mobility, and I can choose what is more important for me, the speed of mobility or the comfort. For example, I do not want to use electric scooters, or I cannot afford a taxi. So I have different packages, and each day I can plan my mobility, and I can guarantee that I will go from point A to point B. So that's what we will be talking about during our roundtable today, and I would like to introduce our speakers. It is Alexander Polikov, CEO of the State Budgetary Institution Mostrans-Projekt. Good afternoon. And also Jenny Martin has joined us, Secretary General from the ITS, United Kingdom. We have also with us Valeria Matyukhina, General Director of Troika LLC, and Chan Ho-Wing is also with us. He is Head of Operations from Innovation Hub MTR Corporation. So we can start. Alexander, I would like to give the floor to you, first of all. Moscow is one of the biggest megalopolises in the world, and when I read about the transport infrastructure of the city, I am just shocked by the figures, because now 10,000 units of cars in the subway are digitized, and also your figures in terms of car sharing and other transport means are just fantastic. And during these last 10 years, it has become more comfortable to move in the city, and I think that the reason for it is a correct intellectual transport system, and that's why I would like to ask you. So we know where we are, we know what are our achievements in terms of the urban development, and what will be the future of transport mobility in Moscow, and how this experience of Moscow, which is a successful experience, how we can scale it to other towns and cities. Yes, you know, Moscow has a lot of experience. We have visited our colleagues from Transport for London and our colleagues from Asian countries. We bought a lot of different solutions, and we had acquired quite a lot of experience. And what is the gauge of the correct use of a system? You know, you have the direct managing of a transport system. So, for example, you have the traffic lights, and the traffic lights just do not let you to go and just stops you. But a smart system is founded on the trust. For example, we can transmit some data directly to the TV or to the radio, and they take this data from the ITS, and people know that, for example, there are traffic jams on this or that street, and this information is given in real time, and it is based on the communication between the government and the city. If we're talking about the future, I think that as Moscow is sharing its experience, I can show you what elements are already integrated in Moscow and what is already integrated in different Russian cities and towns. Because for quite a lot of towns and cities, it is already a future step. So the access to the transport, it is a unified space. So when we are born, we start to communicate and we develop only in a society. And you know that if you take a person out of the society, his or her development won't be full, and so it will be difficult to develop his intellect, intelligence, etc. And now we can communicate with our colleagues even at a distance. And transport is a live communication. We have published a book, Terra Urban, where we have described the possibility to communicate and the influence of communication. You know, when we are close to each other and when we can feel the energy of our colleague, of our friend, and we have families, we have friends, and please think about how often do you communicate with your relatives and your family. We need to do this, and we need to have such short communications. And if you talk about figures, not so long ago, the distance from Moscow to St. Petersburg was 2 weeks. If we talk about horses, afterwards it was 1 day, 24 hours if we talk about railway, and now it is 4 hours. So this is already a new type of communication. We are very close to each other, and inside the city we also need to increase this time accessible for communication. But we can lose this time if we have traffic jams and if public transportation is not accessible. For example, if I think that I will be waiting for the bus for a long time, and all these things are related to the ITS and also to the security, and the Moscow mayor has talked about it today. He said that changes in the transport systems and in the urban development contribute to decreasing the criminality rate, and also the fact that we have smart traffic lights, that the public transportation is accessible. It contributes to the whole development of the city. We have quite a dozen of projects, and we have different systems, the complex scheme of transport organization, the program for transport structure development, etc. All these programs allow us to integrate these solutions to other regions too. So we as an institute, we prepare different project solutions which will be integrated later. For example, we had the program Direct Way. So for example, we have a distance of 100 meters, and you do not need to build a long road, and you need just to have this direct road of 100 meters, and it will be more comfortable for people to go to the hospital or to a concert hall, etc. These are such easy cases and examples. We had a similar case in the city of Oriol. For example, we had 4 lanes and the width was 5 to 6 meters. And we just changed the repetition of the lanes. We added 1 lane, and so it was very fruitful for the city. We can offer such solutions to other regions and cities. Now I would like to talk about a specific case. We are now taking part in the development of the independent character of the center of the city in Tula, for example, and we were basing our actions on the experience of Moscow. Tula addressed different councillors and experts from this domain, and there are other 22 regions which take part in the implementation of intellectual transportation projects. We also take part in this project, and that's why we would like to talk about the solutions which are given by the ITS. We can reduce the time of the lost time during our trips, so we can guarantee public security. I have some figures now, and I was interested in knowing what are the results and figures. For example, in 2019, and we started to integrate it in 2018, but even in 2019, from 2019 to 2020, we developed the system even more, and we had a result of 39% less car accidents, and the number of criminal cases reduced by 30+%. So, for example, if there's a pedestrian passing, the traffic lights react, and also we can reduce the energy consumption. And there are only 3 to 4 people who service such solutions. The reduction of the number of car accidents, it is also the reduction of traffic jams and the increasing of safety and security. Because with car accidents, even if we use the European protocol, we lose time. And we also can control the emissions and think about sustainable economy and the protection of environment. We also can reduce other indicators and have the positive effect. We are now carrying out a scientific research how the changes in the traffic lights functioning can influence on environment. We have an Instagram channel. We have a plan of our roads, and we take this content from our intellectual systems. We think that everything which is done by the government should be accessible for other counterparts. So people do not need to think what they had in the past and what they will have in the future. And for example, we just can say that on Saturdays it is better to go to the shop from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., for example, and we can guarantee that there won't be a lot of lines and a lot of queues, because we can analyze the traffics of pedestrians near this shop. And when there are different news channels from journals or from other accounts. We have the content which describes what is the life in our city, and it is the base for our communication. All the transportation means increase the possibility of communication between people, and there are also really seamless solutions. My colleague Valeria will talk about this. Even inside the transport, you can communicate and not to lose time for verifying your ticket, for example. So you can subscribe to our channel, and I would like to show you a short video if I have time, if it is possible. So it was yesterday. It is 6:03 p.m. So you can see it is. These are real images. It is the center of Tula, and we can have this content for the city and for the region, and we can forecast when you will come to a certain station, for example. And we know that during the pandemic and the lockdown, traffic is changing, and some navigation systems were showing that there is a traffic jam there, but it was not true, so we do not do this. And you can choose manually the indicators for the environment. For example, we check every minute 4 indicators, and we want to pass to controlling 16 indicators for the environment. And you can see the metrics correspondence, and via Wi-Fi we can use this content, and it shows us that we can verify the data. So we do not have only one indicator. We can see, using our cameras, the pedestrians, and we can see what are their trips, and we have also cameras for cars, and we can see if a car is violating the rules, because you know we need to punish such people who violate the rules. We have also cameras which can control the temperature in the city, and we can recognize the symbols on the road, the signs. You can have a look at it. The system is already functioning, and it is useful to the city. The first test part of our system helped to find one stolen car, and also this year they tried to steal a bike, and thanks to our system and our cameras we were able to find it. So it shows that it is really functioning and useful. And you see, we have adapted our cameras, and we integrated them to the system of verifying the speed of the car, and we also can provide you with a forecast of when you will come to a certain station. We also can look at parkings and at the number of cars on the parkings.
Like 39% of parking lots have been busy yesterday morning. We can also map the traffic accidents and see the map on weather. It was dark because every traffic accidents influence economy, and that's another thermal map. Bottlenecks when roads were locked, and in Moscow, you know, you need permits and approvals. And if you infringe, there is responsibility, including the material responsibility. And as for also, I would like to stop on the digital map and the digital twin with the precision of 2 millimeters for every road sign. And when we would talk about driverless cars, they would lead to a reduction in traffic accidents from 75 to 90%. And we have driverless cars in Moscow. And we have the unmanned flying vehicles that control
Есть у нас паркон, который работает в больницах, анализа ковидных больных. То есть вот эта вся история.
The parking lots, and we have parkon that transports test results from lab to hospital, and we will share that experience with the regions, and we will also share with them our environmental developments, which are underway. We can talk a lot about that, and as I told you, we have other experience in different regions, and I hope my colleagues can add with their digital solutions. Okay, so here as Muscovites, we know quite well what's when the road is blocked, and we have less cases. And I, as a person that has to cross the Bolshoi Kamenny bridge, which is being repaired, I would agree that we have less incidents. A question about Tula. The city started to see how people move in problematic areas or zones. Do they start to reconcile with you the urban policy? Well, any urban policy has to do with a number of factors. If we would talk about the high-rise construction, it's the question of future. Although in Moscow, developing projects take into account the burden on the transportation system. And also in Tula, there is an understanding that it's not possible to build a road and a pipeline blocking a big area. So together with the city government, we will move to a planning system which will be able to predict burden on the bottlenecks. Many thanks, Alexander. Now I would like to hand it over to Jenny Martin, the Secretary General of ITS, United Kingdom. Intelligent transportation systems have become the backbone of urban mobility in the UK. And as we know, the total investment in ITS projects in the country is approaching 2 billion British pounds. And the technology ITS United Kingdom uses is based on smart systems experience and helps to mitigate the influence on the environment. So, Jenny, last year your organization published a manifesto in which the main development priorities would be outlined. So could you please tell us what are the main ITS tools that are important to implement today and how they will affect the mobility of cities in the future?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for the kind introduction. I will attempt to share my screen. Are my slides visible? Yeah, okay, thank you. So I'm from ITS UK. There is, of course, also an ITS Russia, and there's indeed an ITS Hong Kong. I've been chatting with my Hong Kong colleague earlier. So we are all colleagues. We, in the UK, we are an independent society. So we're funded by member subscriptions. We're not a government organisation. That's quite important to note. We are, which means we can give independent advice to government. But while the large consultancies and academia and manufacturers like Siemens and Denique are members of ITS UK, so are also many government departments. So really in the UK, if you work in ITS, hopefully you are a member of ITS UK. Because I've got a very limited time, I've chosen 3 themes I want to talk to you a little bit about: urbanisation, decarbonisation and accessible transport. So what I've done with my slides is they are really just words, because my hope is that some of what I say will be interesting. You'll be wanting to follow up, and then hopefully the slides will work as a sort of aid memoir for you, and my contact details are at the end. So I just wanted to very briefly explain how intelligent transport systems, so that's transport technology, another word, how they work in the UK. They are devolved, meaning that the 4 nations that make up the UK, England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, each have their own government department that looks after ITS. At a local level, we call them local authorities. Other people maybe call them municipalities, cities, communes. They also have responsibilities for their own street ITS. Of course, public transport operators, when you talk about public transport systems like ticketing, fleet management, other operational systems. Important to remember that as far as roads ITS is concerned in our country, it's nearly all publicly funded. When you think about bus and rail, of course, they are privately operated. They do have some fare box income, but very often if there's a big scheme that the government wants implemented, like when we switch to smart card ticketing from paper ticketing, government money will go into that. It's unusual that the operators fund it entirely themselves. So my first theme, urbanisation. I'm sure there's nobody in the audience who's not familiar with the challenges of urbanisation. I think all countries have this. In the UK, we've always been comparatively a very urbanised country, as you can see. I've got stats here from the World Bank. In 2009, we were already 80.5% urbanised, and 10 years later, that had gone up to 83.5%. But it is, even though you could say, okay, so the UK has always been urbanised, we should know what to do. It is very challenging. Because of our history, most of our larger conurbations have got very old street layouts dating back to medieval times. In some cases, like London, the centre of London, the city of London, even is the Roman street layout. So if a Roman came back now, he'd be walking the same grid of streets that we walk now. It makes it very difficult to do anything new. If you want to implement things like cycle lanes, it's very, very difficult. We also are resolutely in the model of that you own your means of transport. So you own your car, you own your bicycle, what have you. Which translates seamlessly into parking problems, because again, the street layout is what it is, and finding new spaces for parking is difficult and also often not desirable. Rows of parked cars don't really do much to make the streetscape look more attractive. Of course, one method is to get up the modal share of public transport, and we were making some good progress with that. Particularly bus transport has had a bit of a renaissance in this country, a lot driven by London, but also the rest of the country. But of course, with the pandemic and lockdown measures in the UK, the message was very much that public transport is dangerous. It's dangerous to be on a train, it's dangerous to be on a bus. Now we have to try and pick up the pieces from that messaging and try to convince people that actually, no, you should come back. It is safe. We know more about transmission of virus now. Also, we are mainly vaccinated. So you should stop driving everywhere in your private car and come back to public transport. But that's going to be a really big challenge for us. Of course, another really good answer is active travel. Not only does it free up street space, but it also improves public health. Again, we have absolutely had a cycling revolution the last 10 years or so, particularly in our urban areas. It's been quite remarkable. But safety challenges caused by the fact that our streetscape doesn't really allow for much segregation. Again, some of the increase in cycling and in walking has come from public transport use, which is not ideal for our policy aims. It would have been better if it come from car use, but we are doing what we can. And very new, micromobility, e-scooters and the like, very popular here. To be quite honest, legislation and regulation of them is about 2 years behind what people are actually doing. So we do have some safety issues and some security issues with them. But I think this is going to have to work out, because it's clear that the citizens really like their e-scooters and their powered bicycles, the e-cycles, if I can call them that. So I think they're here to stay. And I think we all have a vision of that in 10, 20 years' time. A lot of certainly the parking problems will fall away, because with automated mobility, ownership will fall away. So vehicles will be in use, or they will be far away, not actually on the street. We won't have the parking patterns that we have now. Well, that's what we aspire to. So my next topic to canter through very, very quickly is decarbonisation. Now you can see in the graph that when it comes to transport greenhouse gas emissions, private cars are well up ahead there, apart from, on top of everything else. It's easy to see a diesel-powered heavy goods vehicle and think, wow, that's really dirty, that's where the problem comes from. But actually, because of sheer numbers, it's private cars that are the biggest problem. We have some really ambitious work going on this. The Department for Transport has a decarbonisation plan, which will be published any minute now, apparently. It was supposed to be published in spring 2021, but as everybody knows, a government spring goes on till at least the end of June. So it will be, it's not published yet, but it will be very shortly. I'll give the link down the bottom of the slides if you want to find out more about that, what the status was of it a couple of weeks ago, if you want to update yourselves. We are supposed to be net zero by 2030 in transport, very ambitious, particularly if you know the makeup of the UK fleet and the fact that vehicles stay in the UK fleet for an average of 17 years. So the net zero target is very, very ambitious. Restrictions are coming in on diesel and petrol vehicles. They can't go in certain areas at certain times, or if they do go, we have the low emission zones where the very dirty vehicles have to actually pay to be there. It's not a perfect solution because it displaces the more dirty vehicles to other areas that aren't charged, but it's a start. And of course, modal shift will be a really big part of this. We all emit some harmful gases, I'm sure, as we do active travel, but it's nowhere near what we do when we drive a car. And lastly, I wanted to raise inclusive transport provision, which it's something we take extremely seriously in the UK and work very hard on. We have some very stiff legislation and regulation about the fact that transport must be accessible to disabled and elderly people. If it isn't, you can go to court and you can get redress. So it's one of these strange coincidences that I'm on the same panel as the gentleman from Hong Kong, and Hong Kong is even better than we are. So I have to bow to him on this. I didn't know this was going to happen, but if this is a field you're interested in, don't just look up the UK, also do look up Hong Kong. They are well known for being very good. We have, in my opinion, a really important role for ITS technology here in terms of booking systems, information systems, really close detail in navigation systems to say that, for instance, you're blind and you arrive at a train station, the navigation aid that you use should be and can be so detailed that you will be able to find your route absolutely without any danger to yourself. And the intention is, of course, without assistance, because independence is absolutely key. True inclusive transport provision enables everybody to travel independently. You see in the picture, the lady will have had to book that ramp in order to get onto the train. It's great that the ramp is there. It's great that the booking system is there. But if she could be completely independent, then that would be even better. So a very important topic, and getting more important because, of course, we have an aging population. So I think that is my 7 minutes that I've counted through. That's our website. We have a YouTube channel where you can find all sorts of interesting recordings of events we've had. Our Twitter handle, and I absolutely welcome contacts from colleagues all around the world. So if anything I've said has sounded interesting, please do follow up via email. Thank you very much, and back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Jenny, маленький вопрос, прям очень быстро.
Jenny, a quick question. What you think is the key indicator of the transportation infrastructure quality, the speed of movement or mobilization level? What do you think it is?
Видимо, связь работает не так хорошо, как транспорт.
So maybe
Валерия, давайте продолжим.
our communication doesn't work that well as the transport. Now, Valeria, let's continue with you. So Troika smart card actually changed public transport in Moscow. It is the first possibility of changing between the transport free of charge or almost free of charge, or set the time limit for the trip. And we knew that a number of regions in Russia are considering the possibility of introducing Troika. And professionals know that Troika is not just a transport card, but a system that allows to control public transport with high quality. What would be the effect if other cities introduced Troika as well?
Thank you very much. And please, could you show my presentation, my slides? You know, Moscow, and we have talked a lot about Moscow's transportation and its successes, and the digitalization is one more direction of Moscow's development, because Moscow is developing all its digital services, and we are testing the best available techniques and technological solutions. We launch new projects, and all this experience was visible, and Moscow had the prime of Transport Ticketing Global for the best ticketing system, thanks to the Troika card and all the other services we have. So that's when we decided that we could scale up this experience to other regions and cities. And several days ago, we knew that the Best Smart Ticketing Program Prime was awarded to us. Once again, thanks to the Troika card. So our results were already evaluated at the global level. We now see a lot of important and valuable services for passengers. The Troika card, its digital application, the loyalty program, and we are now moving towards the virtual Troika card. We can see on the slide all the stages of our development. We are offering all these solutions to the regions together with Sberbank. It is our technological partner. We have joined our technological platforms, and now we offer these solutions to other regions. Our first project was the region of Tula, and for this region we can say that we are now having a seamless experience, because in the region of Tula, a passenger can pay with his or her Troika card in the surface transport, afterwards in the commuter train. Also, it is possible to pay with Troika, and in Moscow you also can pay with your Troika for the subway journey. So this is the seamless experience we are talking about. The paying ecosystem of the Troika card is not limited by the surface transport. We are talking about all the commuter trains, and it is very comfortable if we talk about interregional mobility and a unified platform. Now, several dozens of regions are interested in introducing this system. Moscow and Sberbank have already invested quite a lot of funds to develop this platform up to its actual state, and so there were quite a lot of investments, but now we can just scale it up and take the profit and the benefits out of it. Now the region government can look at the journeys at the trips of the passengers, and they can analyze this content. So it gives us the whole digital infrastructure. The main effect is the increase of registered payments. It is our first step towards a big transport reform, and this reform is quite visible because we are refurbishing our trains, and you know, this is the butterfly effect. We have launched the Troika card, and we had finally new buses and new trains in the subway. You can see different designs for our Troika card, and for the region of Tula we saw the increase by 70% of digital payments, and in Komsomolsk on Amur there were 250,000 people who had this new service of digital payment, because before they did not have such a service and such a possibility. For the Moscow region, we see that one person can reduce up to 24 hours thanks to the use of this unified digital card. We can talk a lot about different results and effects. In the region of Perm, there were, and there still are 3 different payment systems, but we will integrate them, and the region government will be able to analyze the transport situations and to take measures. More than 90,000 cards were issued during 6 months, and we want to move forward. We want to interact with the regions which have addressed us, and we hope that in a short time the system will cover the majority of Russian regions, and we will offer our passengers our great results. Thank you. I too have my Troika card in my pocket now, and the question is the following. How soon will I be able to move my physical Troika card to my smartphone? Yes, Roman talked about it during the previous session, and yes, it will be possible quite soon. Now I would like to give the floor to the representative from Hong Kong, the representative of the MTR Corporation, which is the public transport operator for the whole Hong Kong. I would like to give the floor to Chan Ho-wing. One of the greatest success in integrating the unified transport system was the case of Hong Kong in 1997. It was the Octopus system, and 36 million cars and practically 100% of population use Octopus, and it's the same for Troika and Octopus. It is not only a transport card, it is, well, we can call it a smart card, because it is used not only for paying for the transport journeys, it is as an ID card. You can use it to come to your office, for example. Tell us, please, how is Octopus functioning today, and what was its role in changing the social landscape in Hong Kong, and what new tools do you see which could improve the transport system in the city? Which tools you will integrate in the future?
Hello, thank you, Chairman, for the introductions. Yes, Octopus card has been in use for 20 years, but we are also still having developments on the Octopus card. And may I share the screens now? Right. Today, I would like to just talk about how this Octopus card has become the primary card in Hong Kong, how it has become the citywide wireless ticketing solution. At the same time, I'm going to talk about a new emerging new card or new ticketing system that is being deployed in MTR, the subway, and some of the latest technology in the roadmap. As correctly mentioned by our chairman, that in fact today we have 36 million Octopus in circulation, but we have only 7 million residents in Hong Kong. That means that everyone will have 4 cards in his pocket. Why? I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that. And today we have 62 retails and some of the shops or restaurants accepting the Octopus card. Today we are talking about nearly 50 million transactions a day, amounts to 200 million Hong Kong dollar value. Why we have so many cards around the city? Because actually we have different type of cards being issued. Some are standalone cards just on your left-hand side here. Some are, we call the own non-Octopus. Actually, you are paying a deposit and then you own the card. When you use it up and then you would like to return to the office, yes, you could do so and get back your deposit. But in the recent year, we have actually integrating the Octopus into very many different cards as well. For example, your bank card. Your bank card could become with the Octopus function. So you could still tap your Octopus or a bank card as an Octopus. It integrated in your mobile phone. So if you have a mobile phone, you have a SIM card, then the SIM card is also a mini Octopus card. And then not only that, actually today we are also integrating into your watch, your iPhone, your Samsung or Huawei smartphone as well. And because of that, people would like to get the convenience of actually having more than one card, because whatever they go, wherever they do, they would have the opportunity of having one card in his pocket, either in the phone or in your wallet. The card today is not just for transportation use, for paying the fare. In fact, it is also for the access control. You could tap into a building with the Octopus card, and you could also do a peer-to-peer payment transaction through the card. Not only that, as time goes by, in the recent year, we have further expanded it. For example, you could do an event registration with your card. It is just a mini ID card in Hong Kong. You have the access control and the fare collections. The latest application is very interesting. Because of the COVID-19 and the pandemic, the government very much would like to encourage spending And actually, it's giving out money to every resident and citizens to spend. How do they get the money to the resident and citizen? One way is to deposit money into the Octopus card. And then the resident could use this Octopus card to spend and encourage the economy back. And you could notice that, in fact, with the Octopus card, there are lots of beauties within that. We could classify the card into different age groups to support the local student, the children, the elderly, or some of the subsidized populations, even with the person with disabilities. In fact, person with disabilities will enjoy a very deep discount and traveling in Hong Kong using the card. And it also support different type of transportation. By the way, who is going to own the company Octopus? In fact, it is a few transportation company jointly own the shares and operate this operator cars, with MTR being the largest shareholder. And then because of the use of the card, actually we could introduce a lot of different promotion schemes. For example, early bird. This is an impact to the transportation pattern, the travel pattern and the travel habit of many of our citizens. Next is that a little bit about the technical part of the card. Well, although this is card, actually it is an electronic device that you have the memory, the radio, the antenna, and everything. So no matter how smart it still is an electronic device. But we are thinking, could we actually taking out the card, having a ticketing system without any cards? So that's why we are moving to the third part. The second part is the QR code ticketing. Well, QR code is so popular around the world, and in particular in the Asian region, that actually the QR code could be used as a form of payment. Today, we have just introduced the QR ticketing in MTR. You just show your QR code in front of the gate, scan it, then you could enter into the gates. And then when you are leaving the system, you scan the QR code again, then you would have completed your journey. But where is the money? Because this is an account-based payment system. You just tie your QR code with one of your bank account, then all this will be done automatically at the back end. You don't need to pay it instantly. Every month, the bank is going to charge you the total and also provide a detailed log of what you have been spending. Today, we have a daily average of around 20,000 usage and a very high performance of 99.97% accuracy and successful rate. Right. If you could see here, this is the promotion poster of MTR, encouraging users to use the QR code to do the ticketing. And then at the lower part of this photo, you could see that all these K are being colored in purple, so that you know that if you're using this purple gate, you could make use of the QR code to enter into the system. I think this is particularly important because during the COVID-19 and the pandemic, people also have the worries about, will I actually contact the virus because I'm going to touch on something when I'm traveling in the public transportation. With this QR code, actually you don't need to touch anything. You just show your phone to the scanner, then you will get in. So at the back end, there is a server and a cloud platform that would help you to manage all these transactions and doing all the clearing. And then what you need is just a phone and a QR code generated. Moving ahead, we believe that the future smart ticketing is no longer a physical card. it would be ticketless, cashless, and we don't need so many ticket issuing machines. And we hope that one day you will get into our system just by presenting your mobile phone, and your mobile phone will become your electronic wallet. Actually, today, you could leave your home without any cash, but you could leave your home. You can't leave your home without a smart card with yourself. And we are expanding this QR code program. You'll notice that there are a few different payment systems. The first one is called the Alipay, and the second one is called the WeChat Pay, and then the Union Pay. Why are they so different? Because these are the very common and popular payment system in China. And we are now also adopting this kind of payment system in Hong Kong, although the currency is different. And then hope that one day we will have all the content smart credit card and all these digital solutions in place through our apps. Right. Thank you very much.
Мистер Винг, маленький вопрос, у нас еще остается немножко времени.
Mr. Wing, a little question. Hong Kong is known for a very developed multimodal public transportation system. What was the support from the government, and what tools the government used to encourage development and building up the system?
Well, in Hong Kong, the government very much encouraged all the residents to take the public transportation rather than to driving their cars, because Hong Kong is very heavily populated, and car on roads would experience a lot of traffic congestions. One way of encouraging this, the use of public transportation is to have a card that could allow intermodal discount among different transportation. Say, for example, now today I'm driving on the train and I have to interchange to a bus. Could I enjoy some kind of discount because of doing that? The answer is yes. With one single card, actually recording all your transport history, then you could do so. And today, the government also encourage people to use the card because they could actually enjoy the discount actually directly from the government as well. Say, for example, for the elderly, for the children, and for the disability, right? If they are using the card, then they actually are being subsidized in their transportation costs.
Thank you. Now I would like to ask a question to Alexander. I believe that our roundtable will also encourage cities to introduce ITS. What would be the right step? Number one, as a person working as a classical transportation research institute, we need to begin with planning. We need to understand why do we do it. Any project, any system should be focused on the effect people will get, because all those systems should facilitate our life, make our life easier, safer, more comfortable, and scale up communication. If we set those goals, we should begin with a project. If we have an action plan, no one will prevent us from completing it. Valeria, and what are the key difficulties, in your opinion, when you come to a region? You know, the main challenge, the main difference is to collect information. So, but that's why we come down there, to get the information. And also there is a strategic difficulty, infrastructure, a difference in infrastructure you have in cities in terms of quality of services and equipment. This is a constraint in the regions. The history, the background, the traditional database you need to maintain to support the regions in taking the decision. So think, if anyone hears me in the regions, think about the quality of your ticketing equipment. Okay, thank you. Dear friends, our roundtable is coming to an end, and I would like to thank all our panelists and guests, and I think that in 1 year's time it would be exciting to discuss what changes and new solutions came to the market. Thank you.